Delighted to have my teacher, Dr. Shreevatsa sir, among us to speak on Samhitas. So, hope you all will get benefited. I wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Shreevatsa sir, Professor and Head Department of PG Studies, Samhita Siddhanta from Government Ayurveda Medical College, Mysuru. So, welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Harshita, please coordinate. If required, you can play E Samhita background.
Yeah, I'll share the screen. Hope screen is visible now.
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Okay. We will start.
Yes, sir.
As we all know, the topics given for me are two. One is Rasavimanam, second one is Tadvidyasambhasha. Let us try to complete these two chapters within 3 days. So today and tomorrow, to the maximum extent, let us try to understand the concepts explained in Rasavimanam. And the last day, that is on Wednesday, we will try to understand Trividhakukshiyam Vimanam. So, as you all know, Vimanasthana is one unique division of Charaka Samhita, which has been placed between two important divisions, which is very important one, which is very specific one, which we are supposed to know well. So, prior to Vimanasthana, we have Nijanasthana. After Vimanasthana, we have Sharirasthana. So, in between, it has been placed with a specific reason, which has been mentioned here very specifically. So, it says, Nidane Jnata Hetwadi Panchakasya Chikitsa Upayogitaya Dosha Bheshajadi Vishesha Jnanam Apekshitam Bhavati. So, earlier, we got the description about Vyadhi as a whole. So there is need to know the proper knowledge, specific knowledge with proper quantum about dosha as well as bheshaja. So that's why ato vakshyamana dosha bheshajadi vishesha jnapakam vimanasthanam. So it has been very specifically mentioned here. The proportion related with every component which are playing major role in the management of disease are explained explored significantly here. तत्र अपि च दोषभेषजयोः प्राधान्यत्वात् तत् विशेषज्ञापकं. So amongst that, it is rasa which binds both dosha as well as bheshaja. So that's why the first chapter has been named as Rasavimana. So Vimanasthana exclusively speaks about the measurement of certain components, and all those components get linked through the media of rasa, because it is rasa which decides the proportion of dosha as well as bheshaja. That's why Rasavimanam has been explained specifically. So it is very specifically mentioned here that sthana sambandham swayameva darshayishyati. So there is no need to specify what is the significance of the sthana, because the name of sthana itself defines, the name of the sthana itself signifies what it speaks about. Visheshena niyate jnayate. So the two terms have been explained here. One is niyate, second one is jnayate. So we are going to have proper measurement of dosha and bheshaja. We are going to have proper knowledge of dosha as well as bheshaja. That's why it is named as Vimanam. Okay. So in that, as I already said, this particular chapter has been designed keeping rasa in center. That's why it is named as Rasavimanam. So what we are going to study in this particular sthana, that is explained very specifically here. There are few components which will be explored significantly throughout Vimanasthana. Those factors are dosha, bheshaja, desha, kala, bala, sharira, sara, ahara, satya, sattva, prakriti, vayasam. Manam avahita manasa yathavat jneyam bhavati vishaja. So here it is very appropriately stated that these factors are going to be assessed throughout Vimanasthana or methodologies which help to understand the evaluation of these 12 factors are explained in this particular sthana. So that's why it has been mentioned very properly here. Nahi amanajno dosha dhinam desha vyadhi nigraha samartho bhavati. So the person who is not having the knowledge regarding the mana of dosha as well as dosha and so on factors will not be able to manage disease at all. That's why in this particular sthana, we get the description regarding doshadi mana jnani. So that has been explored in this particular sthana, especially in this specific chapter, which is a very important one. So amongst them, first we get the description regarding Tatra Adav Rasa Dravya Dosha Vikara Prabhavan. So we get the description regarding Rasa Prabhava, Dravya Prabhava, Dosha Prabhava, as well as Vikara Prabhava. So we come across with Vikara. We manage Vikara through Dravya. Dravya acts through Rasa. Vikara gets manifested through Dosha. So that's why, keeping this association, these four factors are explored in this particular chapter. So amongst them, we know about this one, Rasa Hatavata Shakti. We know the importance of Rasa, or we know the number of Rasa already. But what is needed here is the Pramana. So that is highlighted here. Te samyak upayujyamanaha shariram yapayanti. So when rasas are upayujyamanaha samyak, used in a proper way, then they help to maintain sharira. When the rasa through the media of dravya are not used in proper way, if they are used in mithya yoga, then certainly they lead for dosha prakopaya upakalpante. So that's very specifically mentioned, and this is what we are supposed to know. Rasa, when judiciously used, they play major role in the maintenance of Sharira. When rasas are used in erratic way, then they lead for dosha prakopa. So that has been explained here. So here the point which is highlighted is the prabhava. What prabhava is? So that is defined here very properly in the Vyakhya, which you are supposed to know. Okay. So it is said that prakrishto bhavaha prabhavaha shaktiriti arthaha. So this definition is very important one. Sacha iha chintya achintya cha grahya. So this prabhava, the prakrishta shakti, the excellent efficacy of a dravya is of two forms. One is chintya, another is achintya. At some context, it's possible to infer the prakrishta bhava. At some levels, it's not possible to infer the excellency of effect. So when it is possible to assess, then we call it as chintya. When it's not possible to assess, then we call it as achintya. Ultimately, rasa is going to have efficacy in two forms. One is chintya as well as achintya. So the word yapayanti here has been defined very beautifully, which we are supposed to. Samyena avasthapayanti. So here the process of yapana is indicating the maintenance of homeostasis. The word mithya yoga here includes ayoga, atiyoga, and mithya yoga together. So this point to be kept in mind. It's not only injudicious administration, it's administration in the form of hina yoga, ayoga, atiyoga, as well as mithya yoga. So this is about previously the prakarana adhikarana has been mentioned. We are going to talk about rasa prabhava, dravya prabhava, dosha prabhava, as well as vikara prabhava. As I already said, dravya prabhava is always dependent on rasa prabhava. Vikara prabhava is always dependent on dosha prabhava. That's why we get the description regarding rasa first, followed by dosha. So regarding dosha also we know this information. So doshas are how many? And again, that has been measured. So measurement in the form of Prakriti, measurement in the form of Vikriti. Rasa also has been mentioned in the form of Samyak Upayujyamanaha, in the form of Mithya Upayujyamanaha. So now we have the categorization of dosha. We have the measurement of dosha with two scales. One is Prakriti Bhuta dosha, another one is Vikriti Bhuta dosha. So what's the role of Prakriti Bhuta dosha that is mentioned? They are Sharira, Upakaraka. So doshas, when they are in normalcy, they are when they are in Prakriti Bhuta, then certainly they are for Sharira Upakara. When they are in Vikriti Avastha, then certainly they are said to be Nana Vidhaihi Vikaraihi. So it is not like one to one. So depending on the permutation and combination of nidana, there will be vitiation of dosha with various permutations as well as combinations, which leads to the manifestation in different levels. So that is leading for Sharira Upakaraka, Sharira Upatapayanti. So these terms should be kept in mind, which is very important. So here one point has been mentioned. Punaha Shabdo Doshaha Punaha Trayo has been mentioned here. So Punaha Shabdo Manasa Dosham Vyavartayati. So here the word Punaha, it is talking about discrimination, or it's talking about exclusion of Manasa Dosha. Usually the word Punaha from the point of Samskrita Bhasha, again, it's indicating again. But in this context, the word Punaha indicates the specification of Vata Pitta Kapha, which we are supposed to know. The reason is very simple. When the dravya possessing particular rasa is consumed, first it gets exposed, or first it comes in contact with Sharirika dosha, as we all know. So rasas, even though they have the effect on in Indriya as well as Manas, that comes in due course. But primarily rasas, they come in contact with Sharirika dosha. This point we have to keep in mind, which is very important. So here they want to highlight that association which comes later. In the next component, it comes. Okay, that's why they have highlighted only Vata Pitta Kapha in this context. It doesn't mean that rasas are not having effect on Manasa dosha. Primarily, they affect Sharirika dosha. In due course, there will be effect of rasa on Manasika dosha too, because Shadindriya Prasadanam and all we come across with so many effect of rasa later, as we all know. Okay, so this is what intended here. So moving on to the next component now, which says about effect of dosha on effect of rasa on dosha, which has been explained in this dosham ekaikam trayaha trayo rasa janayanti trayaha trayaha cha upashamayanti. So the association of rasa as well as dosha has been explained now onwards. This we know. Shamakarasa, Kopakarasa, that has been mentioned here. This is what we are supposed to know. Rasanam, Asamsistanam, Karma, Aha. So here, basically, they are not talking about Taratama here. That's why Asamsista term has been used. Okay. So here they are very specifically focusing on Katutikta Kashaya, unified rasa, which is very important one. Okay. So anena rasa karma upadeshena doshanam api tat rasa utpadyatvam tatha tad rasa upashamaniyatvam uktam bhavati. So rasa is one which is having direct inclination towards dosha, which is having direct effect on dosha. Katutikta kashaya vatam janayanti iti asati paripanthini iti jneyam. So here the technical term asati paripanthini is very important one. The word asati paripanthini is even available in the context of this chapter. So that speaks about there should not be opposing factor. For example, Katatikta Kashaya Rasa certainly leads for Vata Janana or leads for Vata Vriddhi when the opposing factors are not there. I mean to say, a Dravya is having Katurasa. If it is possessing Madhura Vipaka, then it will not have Vata Janana or Vata Vardhaka karma because Madhura Vipaka dilutes the karma of Kata. Okay. Similarly, the Dravya which is having Madhura Rasa, if it is possessing Ushnavirya, then also the effects of Madhura Rasa cannot be observed because Ushnavirya dilutes the karma of Madhura Rasa. So there must be absence of opposing factor. That's what Asati Paripanthini means. So that's what mentioned here. Tena, Arka, they have given the example. Tena, Arka, Aguru, Guduchadinam, Tiktanam api, Vatajanakatve, Nadosha. Okay, so the specific point has been highlighted here. Tatra hi Ushnaviryata Paripanthini Vidyate. So that's what I said till now. Tena Nate Vatam Janayanti Ityadi Anusaraniyam. As they are possessing, even though they are possessing Tikkarasa, because of their Ushnaviryatva, they are not causing Vata Vriddhi. Okay, so in turn, they are tena nate vatam janayanti. So they are not going to cause vata janana or vata vriddhi. Enam iti padena yascha katvadijo vayuhu tameva madhuradayah sarvatma vaiparityad visheshena shamayanti iti darshayati. The word sarvatma vaiparitya here is important one. So there must be contradiction from all components. I mean to say, Madhura Rasa, Madhura Vipaka, Shita Vita. If this association is there, then Madhura Rasa will cause Kapha Vriddhi, or Madhura Rasa will be responsible for Shamana of other dosha. It is like that. Similarly, Katurasa, Katuvipaka, Ushnavirya. So that is Sarvatma Vaiparitya. So the Shamana as well as Kopana or Janana, whatever that has been mentioned here, that depends on Sarvatma Vaiparitya or Sarvatma Samanatva. So when it is there, then there will be the action as Janana or Kopana. So this point we have to Janana or Shamana. So this point we have to keep in mind in this context, which is very important one. So Jagaranadije hi vayo Jagaranadi viparitaha swapnadaya eva visheshena tathyaha. So why this plays major role? As we all know, whenever we come across with a specific nidana for the manifestation of Vyadhi, then exactly opposite to that particular nidana should be advised, which acts as pathya. So similarly, we should think of pitta as well as shleshma. Evam pitta shleshmanoh api. Enat enam shabdayoh tatparyam darshayati. So here, enam word has been used. Here it is madhuramla lavanahatu enam shamayanti. Okay. Similarly, madhura pikta kashayahatu enat shamayanti. So here the enat word is speaking about or is indicating the sarvatma vaiparitya visheshana, which is very important one. Okay, so next, what this association leads for, that is explained. So till now, what we got the description about Madhura Katurasa is responsible for Vata Janana, Pittarasa is responsible for Pitta Janana, Kashaya Rasa is responsible for Kapha Janana, like that. That's what I mentioned. Asamsrishta. So then, when there is some srishta, what would be the manifestation? What happens if there is association of Katu Madhura, Tikta Kashaya, or Amla Madhura or Amla Titta. So when we come across with Sannipata, what happens? So that is mentioned in the next shloka. Rasadosha Sannipate tu ye rasa yaihi doshaihi samana gunaha samana bhuyistava bhavanti te tan abhivardhayanti viparita guna bhuyisthava shamayanti abhyasyamana. Here the technical term you are supposed to keep in your mind, which is very important, that is abhyasyamana. Okay, so this is applicable for the previous also, this is applicable for this shloka also. So rasadosha sannipate ye rasa yaihi doshaihi samana guna bhuyishtha. So when there is interaction between rasa as well as dosha, sannipata here is not indicating the combination of three dosha. Okay, some nipata it is. Okay, so when both rasa as well as dosha they interact, it is defined very beautifully in the Vyakhya. Sannipate iti antaha sharira melake. So when they get associated inside the body, or when they get interact inside the body with each other, then what happens? If rasa as well as dosha are having similar gunas, then automatically what happens? There will be vritti. This is exclusively based on the concept of samanya and vishesha, which we already studied in Sutrasthana first chapter. I mean to say, Madhura Rasa, Kapha. Madhura Rasa is also having Snigdha Guna, Kapha is also having Snigdha Guna. When Madhura Rasa and Kapha interact, Antaha Sharira Melake, then automatically there will be Vriddhi of Snigdha Guna. Tan Abhivardhayanti. Okay, so when Viparita Guna Bhuisthava. So when Katurasa comes in contact with Kapha, Katurasa is possessing Ruksha Guna, Kapha is possessing Snigdha Guna. Automatically what happens? Depending on the proportion, there will be depletion of Snigdha Guna of Kapha. So that's what mentioned here. Atha Kaya Yuktya Rasa Doshan Janayanti Shamayanti cha iti aha. What is the logic behind dosha janana and dosha shamana through rasa? So that is explained in this particular context. So the placement of the information, the placement of the concept has been justified throughout Vyakhya, which is very important one. Okay, so we get the term, technical term sannipata here. So commonly we may get confused with the word sannipata. So that's why it is defined here. Sannipata is the technical term here. Okay, that is yoga pada here. It is not rudha pada. Okay, sannipata means antaha sharira melate. Okay, next we have the term tu here. Rasadosha sannipate tu. So what this tu is indicating? Tu shabdo visheshe. Very specifically, tena viparita guna eva visheshena विपरीत गुणभूयिष्ठ अपेक्षया शमयन्ति इति दर्शयति. So here two links between समान गुणभूयिष्ठा वा भवन्ति ते तान् अभिवर्धयन्ति. Two विपरीत गुणभूयिष्ठा वा शमयन्ति. Okay, two shabda here links these samana as well as viparita, and it highlights the speciality of samana as well as the speciality of viparita. So that's why it is said that tu shabdo visheshe. So here you cannot consider tu for avadharana. Many times the word tu from the point of Sanskrit language is used for confirmation, assertion, but in this context tu is used for speciality or for specification. So this point we have to keep in mind. रसानां तु यथा उपचारात् गुणा भवन्ति तत् अभिहितं गुणा गुणाश्रया न उक्ताः इत्यादिना सूत्रे. So here the meaning of rasa should not be restricted only for rasa. Rasa is expressed form of a dravya. The rasa includes the remaining components of dravya too, which are responsible for action. I mean to say guna, virya, vipaka, shakti, everything included in the rasa. So this point we have to keep in mind, which is very important one. Abhyasyamana iti na sakrit upayujyamana. So this point is very important. So many times we think that if it is used once, immediately it causes the vriddhi or kshaya. So need not necessary, and always it's not applicable. So it is very specifically mentioned, na sakrit upayujyamanaha. So if it is used once, then you cannot expect dosha janana or dosha shamana. So that expects you to administer rasa for a quite long time. There should be the habit, there should be the practice. Upayujyamana word, other abhyasyamana word is indicating the practice, which is very important one. Okay, एतत् व्यवस्था हेतोः षट्त्वम् उपदिश्यते रसानां परस्परेण असंसृष्टानां त्रित्वं च दोषाणां. So as I already said till now, we are talking about asamsrishta rasa, asamsrishta dosha. So samsrishta dosha, samsrishta rasa comes later. So now we are supposed to know only about asamsrishta rasa, asamsrishta dosha. So that's highlighted here. अथ कस्मात् रसदोष संसर्गभूयस्त्वं परित्यज्य रसषट्त्वं दोषत्रित्वं च उच्यते इति आह. So in this context, एतद्व्यवस्था हेतोः, this method of systematic narration is for asamsrishta rasa and asamsrishta dosha. So this is what we are supposed to keep in mind. It is very important one. Vyavastha iti rasadosha samsarga prapancha sankshepaha. So the word vyavastha here indicates the samsarga of rasa and dosha, the association of rasa and dosha. So here again, you are not supposed to get confused with the meaning samsarga as association of two rasa or association of two dosha. Okay, so here it is talking about, vyavastha is talking about rasa dosha samsarga. As it is vimanasthana, we are supposed to measure rasa, we are supposed to measure dosha, we are supposed to measure the samsarga of dosha and rasa. That is highlighted in this particular context. परस्परेण असंसृष्टानाम् इति पदं दोषाणाम् इत्यनेन अपि योज्यम्. So here the word asamsrishta is applicable to both rasa and dosha. So this is what we are to know. It's very important one. Next he says samsarga vikalpa vistaro hi esham अपरिसंख्येयो भवति विकल्पभेद अपरिसंख्येय. Only with asamsarga of dosha and asamsarga of rasa, and it's only talking about samsarga of rasa dosha. So it's very clear. So when we look into dosha samsarga separately, rasa samsarga separately, they are numerable, even though we have the classification like 62, 63, but still, when we look into Taratama Bhava with proportion, then that becomes innumerable. So that's why in this particular context, Samsarga Vikalpa Vistaro Hi Esham Aparisankhyeyo, it is not Parisankhyeya. So that's why here the description is restricted. The description is limited to rasa and dosha anabhidhane hetu aha. So here the word samsarga is indicated. Samsarga vikalpa vistaro. So here it is related with rasa samsarga, dosha samsarga, rasa dosha samsarga, vikalpa vistara. So this is how you are supposed to know this. Yes, ma samsarga bheda vistaro अपरिसंख्येयः तस्मात् षट्त्वं त्रित्वं च उच्यते. As that is innumerable, so samsarga is restricted for षट्त्वा of rasa and tritva of dosha. Vikalpa bheda अपरिसंख्येयत्वात् इति संसर्ग विकल्पस्य भेदो विजातीय प्रकाराः तस्य अपरिसंख्येयत्वात्. So here samsarga vikalpa is vijatiya. I mean to say, in the previous context, it was talking about rasa dosha samsarga. So the same meaning of samsarga is not continued here. So here the word samsarga is talking about rasa samsarga, which you already studied in Suprasthana. Dosha samsarga, which you already studied in Suprasthana. So that's why it becomes vijatiya here. That's what vijatiya prakaraha means. I mean to say, depending on the context, the word meaning of samsarga is rasa dosha samsarga. But here, in this shloka, shloka number 8, it is considered from the view of rasa samsarga and dosha samsarga, which has been explained in Sutrasthana, in Taratama Bhava, which is more than 60 in number, which we know. Etena yatha rasanam avantara vyaktibhedo api madhurattvadi samanya yogat madhuradi vyapadeshena shatvam uchyate. So we know avantara vyaktibheda means madhura rasa gets expressed in different forms, tara, tama, and so on. Okay, but here the description of the madhura rasa karma is restricted to shatva. In general, the karmas of madhura rasa has been explained here. Tatha madhuramla madhura lavanadi samsarganam api sati api avantara bhedo samanyena upasangraham kritva त्रिषष्टित्व संख्यानियमो भविष्यति इति निरस्यते. So we know the association already. One is madhura, madhuramla, madhura lavana, madhura katu, madhura tikka, and again in that taratama and all. We have so many classifications. We have so many divisions which are explained earlier. So here trishashtitva sankhya niyamo. Okay, but again that classification is also one number. The association exceeds that number also, depending on permutation and combination, depending on proportion. Yato madhura amladi samsarge api vijatiye madhuratara madhuratamadi bhedakrato bhedo aparisankhyeyo bhavati. That's what I mentioned. So when we go on for permutation and combination, then it becomes innumerable, which has been explained in Sutrasthana as Rasaha Taratamabhyam Tam Sankhyam Atipatantihi. So we know this. We have the reference for this view, which has been mentioned earlier. Okay, so this is what it's speaking about. There are three levels of understanding samsarga now. One, rasadosha samsarga in general. That is one level which has been explained earlier. Coming to second level, which speaks about Rasa samsarga in terms of madhuramla, combination of madhuramla, madhuralavana and so on. Again in that madhuratara, madhuratama, madhuratara amla, madhuratama amla and so on. Classification. Similarly, the role, the concept is applicable even for rasa too. Okay. So earlier, when there is ekarasa, how to understand the effects of ekarasa on dosha, that has been explained. So now we are moving to the next level, wherein whenever we come across with combination of rasa like madhura amla, madhura tikta, katu tikta, like that in a dravya, then how to assess janana and shamana of dosha? This is the question. So that is answered now onwards as in shloka number 9. Tatra khalu aneka raseshu dravyeshu aneka doshatmakeshu cha vikareshu rasa dosha prabhavam ekaikashyena abhisamishya tato द्रव्य विकारोः प्रभावतत्त्वं व्यवस्थित. So first rule they have mentioned. So ekarasa, ekadosha, ekarasa prabhava, ekadosha prabhava. That has been explained. So now they are talking about aneka rasa dravya, aneka dosha vikara. Then how to understand this? They say depending on the proportion, for example, if a particular dravya is having madhura and tikta, then quantity of madhura, quantity of tikta should be known. Accordingly, the janakatva or shamakatva of that particular dravya through rasa should be understood. That's what this shloka number 9 speaks about. Rasadosha prabhavam ekaikashyena, individually. How much shamana madhura rasa is leading for pitta, how much shamana tikta is leading for pitta. So adding the two, the pitta shamana effect of that dravya should be installed. This is how, this is what we are supposed to know here. Okay, but this is one general rule. Always this is not applicable. So they say, natu khalu, natu evam khalu sarvatra. Always this is not applicable. So here in Vyakhya, few points have been mentioned. Atha katham tarhi samsristanam rasanam doshanam sa prabhavo jnaya. So if single rasa is there, if single dosha is there, understanding rasa prabhava, dosha prabhava, understanding dravya prabhava and vyadhi prabhava will be easy. But when there is samsrista rasa and samsrista dosha, so here it is talking about rasa samsrista means inclusion of two rasa, three, or inclusion of two dosha, three, like that. How to understand that? So they are telling one rule here. Okay, tatra cha aneka rasadravyasya aneka dosha vikarasya cha pratyeka rasadosha prabhava melakena. So we are supposed to have the added effect of all the rasas, and we have to assess the efficacy. We are supposed to have the added effect of dosha, and we are supposed to incur vyadhi. Kathayan rasa samsarga dosha samsargayoh api tadrisham eva prabhavam kathayati yato rasadosha samsarga prabhavau atra द्रव्य विकार आश्रयित्वा रस दोषयोः द्रव्य विकार प्रभावत्वेन उच्यते. सो अनेन न्यायेन साक्षात् अनुक्तो अपि एकरसद्रव्य एक दोष विकारयोः अपि प्रभावो असंसृष्ट रस दोष प्रभावकथनात् अनुक्त एव ज्ञेयः एकैकस्येन अभिसमीक्ष्य इति प्रत्येकम् उक्तरसादिगुणप्रभावेन अनेकरसं द्रव्यम् अनेकदोषं च विकारं समुदितप्रभावम् अभिसमीक्ष्य. Earlier, we got the description regarding Avayava Prabhava. Now they are going to talk about Samudaya Prabhava. Avayava Prabhava means the efficacy of individual rasa, the efficacy of individual dosha. So that is Avayava Prabhava. So how to know Samudaya Prabhava? Many times we come across with combination of rasas, we come across with combination of dosha. Then how to understand that? So Samudaya Prabhava should be or always be the added effect of Avayava Prabhava. So this point we have to keep in mind, which is very important one. So this is one rule. But always this rule is not applicable. There are few reasons which decide the total effect of dravya, the total effect of vyadhi. So that is going to explain here. न तु एवं खलु सर्वत्र न हि विकृति विषम समवेतानां नानात्मकानां परस्पर परस्परेण च उपहतानाम् अन्यैः च विकल्पनैः विकल्पितानाम् अवयवप्रभाव अनुमानेन एव समुदायप्रभावतत्त्वम् अध्यवसातुं शक्यम्. So previously they mentioned one rule. They explained one concept, but that is not always applicable. There are few exceptions during which we are supposed to know Dravya Prabhava as well as Vikara Prabhava. When the proportion is uniform, as I already mentioned, Madhura Tikta or Madhura Amla like that, then understanding the effect will be very easy. But always the proportion will not be uniform. So the proportion differs in few contexts, in few concepts. Then how to understand that? So for that, the reason behind not establishing Samudaya Prabhava based on Avayava Prabhava has been explained here. Keep two terms in mind. One is Avayava Prabhava, another one is Samudaya Prabhava. Earlier, we discussed about Avayava Prabhava from the point of Rasa as well as Dosha. So, now we are talking about Samudaya Prabhava from the point of Rasa and Dosha. So, many times what happens, even though combined rasas are leading for specific karma, we may not be able to infer that karma through rasa. Why it happens? Similarly, even though Vyadhi has been manifested, for the manifestation of which certain doshas are responsible, but we might not be able to infer that. So why it happens? For that they have given three reasons. Before moving further, I will give few examples, then we will move further. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand this concept. Okay. All of you have studied about the concept of cause as well as effect. You know what is cause, you know what is effect, right? So here they are talking about the phenomena of cause and effect, karya karana, in a more scientific way. This is what you are supposed to know. We know that all karana and karya, they are strongly associated, they are always associated. Karya will not manifest without karana. Karana is base or essential for karya. This we know. We don't have any confusion regarding this. If the association between cause and effect is inferable, then we call it as Prakriti Sama Samaveta. If the association between cause and effect is not inferable, then we call it as Vikriti Vishama Samaveta. Okay, so I will explain that in another way. try to focus on this term, try to focus on this concept, which is very essential for you to understand patient as well as aushadha. When the association or sambandha between karya and karana is establishable, then we call it as prakriti sama samaveta. When the sambandha or the association between karya and karana is not inferred, then we call it as vikriti vishama samaveta. It doesn't mean that there is no association, but we are unable to infer it. Again, note this point. In both levels, in both equations, in both concepts, there is association between karya and karana. It must be. It is universal law. But there are few levels, few situations wherein we are unable to infer the association between karana and karya. So when we are unable, then we call it as vikriti vishama samudaya. When the association between karya and karana is established, is understandable, then we call it as prakriti sama samaveta. I'll give a pause here. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Then we will move further because it's a bit challenging. Till now, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Then we will move further.
Sir, can you give an example for this Prakriti Samavesha and Vikriti Visha?
That I will start. Till now, whatever the doubts, prior to that, whatever we discussed till now, if you have doubt, you ask. Otherwise, the discussion now onwards will go with example. Till now, whatever I explained, if you have doubts, you ask. Otherwise, we will have the expansion of this concept. No doubt? Whether all of you are listening? Okay, fine. I thought students, they kept this one open and they are doing some other work. Okay, fine. We will move on. As I already said, here they are proposing one unique concept on which the narration of whole Vyadhita and Chikitsa depends on. So when you realize this secrecy, then you will be able to understand the patient properly. You will be able to understand Aushadha properly. What it is, let us try to know that. Before moving further, I want to highlight one point here. See, the term Vikriti Vishama Samaveta is in Charaka Samhita. But Prakriti Sama Samaveta is not there in Charaka Samhita. This point you have to keep in mind. So that is there in Vyakhya later in Charaka. So don't get confused about this one. So many times we introduce or we consider that Prakriti Sama Samaveta is also there in Charaka Samhita itself. No. Previously what has been mentioned, तत्र खलु अनेकरसेषु द्रव्येषु अनेकदोषात्मकेषु च विकारेषु एकैकस्येन अभिसमीक्ष्य, that has been mentioned. Then in shloka number 10, the concept, the technical term Swasamdha, Vikriti Vishama Samaveta has been introduced. So Vikriti Vishama Samaveta is the Swasamjna of Charaka Samhita, whereas Prakriti Samaveta is Swasamjna of Ayurveda Deepika. So this is what you are supposed to know. Okay. So now let us try to understand why it happens. See, as I already said, we come across with presence of multiple components in a dravya which play major role for dravya karmikatva. Similarly, we come across with multiple components in dosha in terms of guna, which play major role in the manifestation of vyati. I will give few examples, then you will be able to understand this very easily. Let us take the example of Pitta dosha. Okay, Pitta dosha is having so many gunas, as we all know: Sasneha, Tikshnoshna, Lokavisa, Saradrava, and so on. Okay, so when Drava and Saraguna of Pitta increases, then that leads to Atisara. When Ushna and Tikshna Guna of Pitta increase, then that leads to the features like Amla Pitta and so on, Hridda and so on. See, the involved dosha is Pitta in both the conditions, but it is leading for the manifestation of different conditions. Why it's happening, even though the dosha is the same, even though the diseases are because of that particular dosha, we can observe the variation, we can observe diversity in the manifestation of vyati. Okay, so here, depending on the dominancy of dosha, depending on multiplicity of gunas of dosha, multiplicities of qualities of dravya, we come across with variant effects. So this is what Nanatmakanam means. Okay. Moving on to the second one, there are three reasoning which are mentioned here. One is Nanatmakatva, second one is Parasparena Upahatatva, third one is Anyehi cha Vikalpanaihi Vikalpitanam. Coming to the second one, Parasparena cha Upahatana. So when we come across with combination of doshas, the dominant guna of the particular dosha will suppress the recessive one. So when ruksha guna is dominating, then we come across with the lakshanas like tvagrukshata and so on. If chala guna is dominating, then we come across with lakshanas like excessive movements of different parts of the body and so on. This is what the dominating one suppresses the recessive one. So that's what parasparena cha upahatanam means. The third one is anyaihi cha vikalpanaihi vikalpitanam. So one more example I will give. Then you will be able to understand. The dravya vasa is there. So if vasa is given in the form of a swarasa, then the effects are different. If vasa is given in the form of ghrita, then the effects are different. If vasa is given in the form of avaleha, then the effects are different. Dravya has not changed. Depending on anya vikalpana, multiple formulations, we are getting multiple effects. I will come to the condition of dosha, which is very important one here. Vitiated vata, when it vitiates pranamaha srota, then it leads to the lakshanas like kasa, shvasa, and so on. Vitiated vata, when it vitiates udakavaha srota, then we come across with lakshanas like talushosha, jihvashosha, and so on. Vitiated vata, when it vitiates, asthivah srotas, then we come across with lakshanas like asthitoda, asthishula, and so on. Similarly, vitiated vata, when it vitiates purishavah srotas, then we come across with lakshanas like vibandha, atopa, anaha, and so on. Vitiated vata, when it vitiates mutravah srotas, then we come across with lakshanas like mutra kricha, mutraghata, and so on. See, vitiated dosha is same, but vitiated dosha when it when it gets interacting with different components of body, then it manifests different features. This is what anyaihi cha vikalpanaihi vikalpitana. So keep this background in mind. Now let us try to go through the Vyakhya, to which you will have a bit of clarification. Then we will go to interaction. Ayam cha rasdosha prabhavadvara sabye vikare cha ityaha. So as I already mentioned, we will not be able to assess samudaya prabhava always based on avayava prabhava. It doesn't mean that avayava prabhava is not leading for samudaya prabhava. So that avayava prabhava depends on other factors also to have samudaya prabhava. When there is one and one relation, then it will be very easy for you to understand. But always this is not applicable. I will give one more example, then you will be able to understand this easily. All of you know two chemicals which you already studied in chemistry. Okay, one is water, another one is hydrogen peroxide. Water is also made up of hydrogen and water. Hydrogen peroxide is also made up of hydrogen and water. Okay, but what decides the formation of water as well as hydrogen peroxide? Two factors decide the formation of water as well as hydrogen peroxide. Okay, two molecules of hydrogen, 2H2 plus O2, when they combine, then there will be manifestation of 2H2O. This is what you studied in chemistry, right? When single molecule of hydrogen combines with oxygen, H2 plus O2, then there will be manifestation of H2O2. This is what the chemistry reaction we studied. So the proportion ingredients are same, hydrogen plus oxygen. So depending on nanatmakatva and parasparena uphatatva, so there will be manifestation. Okay, so if you keep this example in mind, then you will be able to understand the concept of Prakriti Samaveta as well as Vikriti Vishya Samaveta properly. Okay, now we will move on to the Vyakhya. So Rasadosha Prabhavadvara Dravya Vikara Prabhava Nishchayo Na Sarvatra. That is not the universal rule, universal role. There are few exceptions. So to explain that exception, Natu Evam Khalu has been mentioned here. Atra Eva Hetum Aha. Why it's not happening? Why it is not an universal rule? So they said, Nahi ityadina adhyavasatum shaktam iti antena. Sorry, shakyam iti antena. So this hetu, it extends from nahi up to shakyam. Up to that, the reason has been mentioned. Vikriti Vishama Samavetanam iti is meant by Vikriti Vishama Samavet, technical term. So that is different here. Vikriti Samavetanam tatha Vishama Samavetanam iti Vikriti Vishama Samavetanam. So here, Vikriti Vishama Samaveta should be understood with two components. One is Vikriti Samaveta, another one is Vishama Samaveta. Vikriti Samaveta is talking about when they combine, when two rasas combine or when two doshas combine. So then entirely new component will be formed. That's Vikriti Samaveta. Vishama Samaveta is speaking about the pramana. One is talking from the point of guna, another one is talking from the point of pramana. Samavetanam iti militanam rasanam doshanam cha. The word samaveta here indicates a phenomena. What that phenomena is? Association of rasas and doshas. Rasas, they get combined with each other. Doshas, they get combined with each other. And the combined rasas and the combined doshas, they too interact with each other. So in total, this whole process of interaction between doshas, between rasas, and between doshas and rasas, that has been highlighted by our Samaveta. Now they are giving example. Tatra rasasya vikriti samavayau. How it happens? Madhure tanduliyate. So tanduliya is a dravya which is having madhura rasa. So commonly we expect when madhura rasa is there, madhurohi prakritya sneha drishyadikaraha. So when madhura rasa is there, automatically innately it is having snehana karma, vrishya karma, and so on. But that's not happening. Why it's not happening? Tanduliyate tu vikruti samavetatena tat na karoti. So madhura rasa alone is not present in Tanduliyata. Along with that one, it is having other factors which are leading for Vikruti, like other guna, other vipaka, other virya, which is counteracting the effect of Madhura rasa present in Tanduliyaka. In turn, the karma of Madhura rasa like Snehatva, Vrushyatva are not seen. They are giving one more example. Vishama Samaveta Vetahatu Tilam Kashaya Katu Tikta Madhuraha. So now, if the rasas are not in proper proportion, what happens? They are giving one example. Tila is the dravya, what we all know, which is having rasas like Kashaya, Katu, Tikta, Madhura. Okay. So these four rasas are there in Tila. So if all these four rasas are present in Sama Samaveta, I mean to say equal proportion, then what happens? That's what they are telling. Yadi hi ime rasaha samaya matraya samavetaha. Syuhu. If these rasas are present in equal proportion in Tila, then what happens? Tataha kilo api pitta shleshmaharaha tridoshaharo va syat. So if that is the scenario, then Tila must have pitta kapahara property or tridoshahara property. But actually it is not like so. Pitta kapha karastu ayam vatahara. That we know. But it is not Pitta Shleshmahara, it is Pitta Kafakara. Why it's not happening? Why it's happening? Because it is not Samaya Matraya, it is because of Vishamaya Matraya. Okay, so that's what Nanatmakatva is highlighted here. Tena Atra Rasanam Kvachit Kartrutvam Akartrutvam cha Kvachit. So here the proportion of rasas is not uniform. All these four rasas are not in 25% each. Are you getting the point? So these rasas are in different proportions. Some are potent, some are silent. Kvachit kartratvam, kvachit akartratvam. Vaishamyam Unniyate. So this is leading for Vishamatva. Now they are going to explain Nanatmakatva and so on. Nanatmakanam ityadi
Sir,
etitrayam. So, yes,
sir, is there any difference between Vikruta Samavaya and Vishama Samaveta? Two terms?
that's what they are telling. Vikriti is in the form of, it is like reactive.
Okay. Any
Vishama
other
is, that's what I
opposite
mentioned. It is
action?
from the point of qualitative change. Yeah. Yeah, Vishama is talking about improper proportion.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No. Now they are going to explain Nanatmakanam Ityadihi Tutrayam. Thank you. You should ask in between. Then I feel that I'm talking with people who are alert. And moreover, it will be very convenient for me also to clarify the doubts there itself. So Nanatmakanam Ityadi Hetutrayam tu Vikriti Samavaya Vishama Samavaya Yohu Eva Upalambakam. So for clarification, they have segregated Vikriti Samaveta as well as Vishama Samaveta. Okay, so it is not the technical differentiation. It is descriptive differentiation. That's all. So this point you have to keep in mind. Okay, so Nanatmakanam Parasparena cha Upahatanam is applicable for Vikriti Vishama Samaveta in total. So you cannot say that Nanatmakanam to Vikriti Samaveta, Parasparena cha Upahatanam to Vishama Samaveta. It is not like that. Okay, only to convince the concept properly, the term Vikriti Vishama Samaveta has been segregated into Vikriti Samaveta and Vishama Samaveta. But conceptually, they are not segregated. This point you have to keep in mind. So that's why these three reasons, Nanatmakanam, Parasparena Chopahatanam, Annehicha Vikalpanehi Vikalpitanam, these three reasons are applicable for Vikriti Vishama Samaveta in toto. This point you have to keep in mind. Okay. Okay. Tena Nanatmakatvadibhihi Vikriti Vishama Samavayau Bhavata. That's what I explained till now. So what is Nanatmakatva? That is going to be explained now. Nanatmakanam iti Nana Rupa Hetu Janitanam. So when we come across with dosha, dosha is having karma, dosha is having multiple gunas. As we all know, that's why I mentioned the example earlier. Okay, so dravya is also having multiplicity. Vikara is also having multiplicity. The word rasa is also having multiplicity because through rasa we identify the dravya, and guna, virya, vipaka are also having expression in rasa itself. So with that orientation, rasa is also having nana rupa hetu. Dravya is also having Nana Rupa Hetu. Dosha is also having Nana Rupa Hetu. Vikara is also having Nana Rupa Hetu. Tena Hetu Bheda Balat Eva Rasadoshayoho Vikrito Vishamo Va Melako Bhavati Ityarthaha. So they are very clear here. So it is Hetu Bheda Balat. So rasa is also having multiple factors. Dosha is also possessing multiple factors. So this is leading for Vikriti Vishama Melakatva. Kimva Nanatmakanam iti Nana Pramananam. So this is also applicable. So Nanatmakanam is indicating Nana Pramanam. So proportion varies. So that varied proportion leads to varied effect. एवं च नाना प्रमाणत्वं विषम समवाये हेतुः. So same nana pramana is hetu for Vikriti Samavaya as well as Vishama Samavaya, as I already mentioned. So classification of Vikriti Samavaya and Vishama Samavaya is for better understanding of the concept. From the point of application, Vikriti Vishama Samavaya should be considered as single one. The second factor, parasparena cha upahatanam iti anyonyam upaghatita gunanam. So usually what happens, we know the example of Amalaki, right? So Amalaki, even though it's having the dominance of Amlarasa, it is not Pittakara. Why it is not Pittakara? Shitavirya dominates there. Shitavirya suppresses the effect of Amlarasa. So here what happened? Anyonya upaghatita gunanam. So Amlarasa has been suppressed by Shita Virya. So this is what Parasparena cha Upahatanam means. So the same thing has been mentioned later. Paraspara guna upaghatah tu yadyapi doshanam prayo nasti eva. So we know that doshas are not acting in reverse way on dosha, tathapi adrishtavashat kvachit bhavati iti jneyam. So we cannot tell like that because always the interaction of dosha is decided by nidana. So when we consume such nidana, automatically what happens? There will be dominancy of certain gunas of dosha. That's what I mentioned. So in pitta itself, we have so many gunas. When one particular guna dominates depending on the nidanas, automatically what happens? The lakshanas will be manifested accordingly. Okay. Kvachit rasanam tu prabalena anyopaghato bhavati eva. So we have the example for the same. Anye, the third they are telling, anyaihi cha vikalpanaihi iti anyaihi cha bhedakaihi. I gave the example already. Tatra rasasya bhedakaha swarasa kalkadayah. Single dravya, when it is used in multiple formulations, the effect will be different. Okay. एकस्य एव हि द्रव्यस्य कल्पना विशेषेण गुणान्तराणि भवति. Same dravya, when it is used in different formulations, the efficacy will be entirely different. That's what they are telling here. दोषस्य तु दोष्यान्तराणि एव गुणान्तरयोगात् भेदकानि भवन्ति. For this also I have given the example. Same dosha, when it interacts with different doshyas, it might be srotas, it might be dhatu, or it might be mala, automatically what happens? Gunantarayogat bhedakani bhavanti. We come across with multiple presentations. Yaduttam स एव कुपितो दोषः समुत्थान विशेषतः स्थानान्तरगतः च एव विकारान् कुरुते बहून्. So for this we have the reference in Sutrasthana 18th chapter. Same dosha, depending on samsthana vishesha, sthanantara gati, there will be manifestation. Bahun vikaran kurute. अस्मिन् व्याख्याने रसानां दोषाणां च उत्कर्ष अपकर्षकृतो विषमसमवायः पृथक् उच्यते स न युज्यते यतो विषमसमवायेऽपि उत्कृष्टस्य रसस्य तथा दोषस्य च उत्कृष्टा गुणा अपकृष्टस्य च अपकृष्टा गुणा भवन्ति इति कृत्वा अवयव प्रभावान् अनुमानेन एव समुदाय प्रभाव अनुमानं शक्यम्. So they are telling this is in this particular context Vishama Samavaya to some extent can be considered separately, but this is not universal. Vikriti Vishama Samavaya should be considered together, which is very important. One always. Atha uchyate. So now they are defining Rasadosha Samsarga, that is Melaka Siddhanta, properly under the heading of Vikriti Vishama Samavaya, Prakriti Sama Samavaya. So try to understand this shloka. Vishama Melake Rasasya Doshasya Cha Nata Eva Guna Utkrishta Apakrishta Va Bhavanti Kintu Gunantaram Eva Bhavati Hanta Tarhi Vikrita Evayam Samavayo Visadrishya Karya Karanatvat. So that this is what I was talking till now. See, if the proportion in rasa is not uniform, that is Vishama Samavaya, then depending on that proportion, can we say Samudaya Prabhava, Anumanena iva Samudaya Prabhava, Anumanam Shakyam? Is it possible? Atha Uchyate. It is not possible. Why? When the proportion of rasas is uneven, then what happens when they combine? Gunantaram eva bhavati. Guna nata eva guna utkrishta apakrishta va bhavanti. So you cannot expect either utkrishtavastha or apakrishtavastha. There will be gunantara. This is what you are supposed to keep in your mind. Hanta tarhi vikrita eva ayam samavayo. So that's why, as I already mentioned, the description of Vikrita Samavaya and Vishama Samavaya, which has been earlier, is only for simple understanding. It is descriptive classification. It is not based on application classification. That evam Dushana Darshanat Anyatha Vyakhyayate. So that's why this Melakatva Samudaya Prabhava has to be understood based on Avayava Prabhava in this way. Anyatha Vyakhyayate. Yet Vividho Melako Bhavati Rasanam Doshanam Cha. The interaction of dosha and rasa happens in two ways. One, prakriti anuguna, another one, prakriti ananuguna. So depending on innate nature, otherwise prakriti ananuguna. Tatra yo militanam प्राकृत गुण अनुपमर्देन मेलको भवति स प्रकृति समसमवाय शब्देन उच्यते. So when the dosha and rasa they interact with each other and without losing their innate properties and they get expressed according to their gunas, then we call it as prakriti sama samavaya prakrita guna anupamardena. So there will not be destruction, there will not be conversion, there will not be variation in the innate properties. So the same properties will get expressed when we call it as prakriti sama samavaya. Yestu prakrita guna upamardena bhavanti sa vikriti vishama samavayo abhidhiyate. So when there is prakrita guna upamarda, prakrita gunas are getting deviated, then we call it as vikriti vishama samavaya. So melaka of dosha and doshya, melana of dosha and rasa, happens in two ways. One is prakriti sama samavaya or samaveta. Another one is vikriti vishama samaveta or samavaya. Vikritya hetu bhutaya vishamaha prakriti ananugunaha samavayo vikriti vishama samavaya. Vikrita hetu bhuta vishama hetu bhuta, both, which is leading for the destruction of Prakriti, is called as Vikriti Vishama Samavaya. Atra eva Vikriti Vishama Samavaye Nanatmakatvadi Hetutrayam Yatha Vivrutam eva Yojaniyam. So here the Trividha Hetus for Vikriti Vishama Samavaya, which are explained, should be considered as per the description provided in the context. ये तु विकृति विषम समवायौ पृथक् एव कुर्वन्ति विषम समवायस्य वैषम्य तारतम्येन अतिबहु प्रपञ्चितत्वात् विषम अवयव गुण अनुमानं दुष्शकम् इति कृत्वा तदपि द्रव्य विकार प्रभावेण एव Vyapadishanti. So all these description of Vikriti Samavaya as well as Vishama Samavaya are explained under the heading of Dravya Vikara Prabhava only. So this point we have to keep in mind. So the next point is the summary of the description, whatever we studied till now. तथा युक्ते हि समुदये समुदाय प्रभावतत्त्वम् एवम् एव उपलभ्य ततो द्रव्यविकार प्रभावतत्त्वं व्यवस्थित. So we have to keep the concept of Prakriti Sama-Samaveta and Vikriti Vishama-Samaveta and guidelines given earlier, Niyate Jnayate, for Jnana, for Mana. They have given the concept here. Okay, so we should take this guideline to understand Dravya Prabhava and Vikara Prabhava at a different context. This is the base to understand Purusha Vyadhita and Aushadha for the Vyadhita. This point we have to keep in mind. Atha Katham Tarhi Vikriti Vishama Samavaya Prabhava Jnanam Ityaha Tatha Yukte Hi Ityadi. Then how to understand this Vikriti Vishama Samavaya? That is exclusively based on the expression Dravya Prabhava and Vikara Prabhava. Exclusively based on the manifestation, exclusively based on Prabhava Tattva only, that has to be understood. So that is explained now onwards. Tatha yukte samudaye iti vikriti vishama samavaye. So in that context, samudaya prabhava tattvam iti melaka prabhava tattvam. So how to understand that? Samaghrutehi madhura tartushi suryavarta kheva dosha samudaye na samyujyamana madhughruta guna kramagatam marakatvam. See, in Samaghruta, both Madhu and Ghruta, they are not having Marakatva. But in Samudaya, we say that there is Marakatva. Similarly, Nacha Vatadi Dosha Prabhavagatam Surya Vruddhya Vardhishtutvam Suryavartasya. So the dominancy of dosha is Vata. Vata is having opposite quality to that of Surya. Vata is having Shita Guna, Surya is having Ushna Guna. So according to Surya Vriddhi, there should not be Vriddhi of the Vyadhi, Suryavarta. But we come across with Vyadhi Vriddhi. Why it happens? Kintu Samyoga Mahima Kritam Eva Ityartha. So it is because of interaction. It is because of samudaya. That's what we are talking about till now. Samavaya, Vikriti Vishama, Samavaya. Yat cha gatidvayam dosharasa melakasya. So the melakatva takes the effect in two ways, in two pathways. One is Prakriti Samavaya Rupam, Vikriti Vishama, Samavaya Rupam. Tena Prakriti Samavaya Rupam Sannipatam Jwara Nidane Doshalinga Melakena Eva Uktavan. So we have the description regarding Sannipatada Jwara in Nidanasthana of Jwara Nidana. So the description of Sannipata Jwara in Nidanasthana is an example for Prakriti Sama Samavaya. Whereas, yastu Vikriti Vishama Samavetah Tridosha Krutodvaraha Tatya Chikitchite Kshane Daham Kshane Sheetam Ityadina Lakshanam Uktam. See, we have the description regarding Sannipata Jvara in two contexts. The Sannipata Jvara Lakshana explained in Nidanasthana is an example for Prakriti Sama Samaveta, whereas the Sannipata Jwara Lakshana, which is explained in Chikitsasthana, that is the example for Vikriti, Vishama, Samaveta. Nahi Shyava Rakta Kota Utpatyadi Tatra Uktam Vatadi Jware Kvachidasti. So rather than considering other Lakshanas in Vata Jwara, Kapha Jwara and all, so this example will be more ideal. एवं रसो अपि यत्र आम्राते मधुरत्वं प्रकृति समसमवेतं तत्र आम्रातं मधुरम् एतन्मात्रम् एव उक्तं तेन मधुरसामान्यगुणागतं तस्य वातपित्तहरत्वम् अपि लभ्यत एव. So depending on madhuratva present in amrata, we are getting madhura rasa samanya gunagatatva or karma like vatapitta haratva. Yatra vartake katupittत्वेन वातकरं प्राप्तम् अपि च विकृति विषम समवाय न भवति तत्र आचार्येण वार्ताकं वातघ्नं. So vartaka is having katutikta rasa, because of that Vatakaratva must be there, but actually it is not like so, as it's very specifically mentioned in the text. Vartakam Vatagam Evam Ityadi Tattat Udaharanam Shastra Prasrutam Anusaraniyam. So that's why to understand this, what is Adhara? That is Shastra. Yettu Prakriti Samavaya Krita Rasadosha Gunadvara Praptam Api Dravya Gunam Vikara Lakshanam Cha Bhute तत् प्रकर्षार्थं स्पष्टार्थं च इति ज्ञेयम्. In some context, we understand Rasa Prabhava as well as Dravya Prabhava easily because there is Prakriti Samavaya Samaveta. But still that is going to be mentioned. So even though it is mentioned that Madhura having Madhura Rasa, again there will be mentioning of Purusha, Brahmana, Karma. We know if the Dravya is having Madhura Rasa, automatically we will be able to infer that the Dravya is having Krishna karma as well as Krishna karma. Still there will be mentioning of that karma. Why that is going to be mentioned? So that is for Prakarshartha. It is having excellence in that particular karma. This is what we are supposed to keep in our mind. And it is for clarification. So this point should be known. Dravya prabhavatah cha, dosha prabhavatah cha, vikara prabhavatah cha, tattvam upadekshyamaha. So now they are giving conclusion about the concept. So we try to understand, or until now we provided the description regarding rasa prabhava, dravya prabhava, dosha prabhava, and vikara prabhava. Okay, so this is upasamharati. So this is going to be concluded here. So this is the conclusion here. That's what previously I said. No, under the heading of Dravya or under the heading of Rasa, there is inclusion of everything. Okay, iha Dravyanam Virya Prabhava Vipaka Prabhava cha Rasa Prabhava Dravya Prabhave Rasa Prabhaveva Antarbhavaniyo. That's what I mentioned. Rasa Prabhava is not restricted only to Rasa. Through Rasa, other components of Dravya are also mentioned. So that's what we are supposed to keep in mind, which is very important one. Okay. So now, after the description of Rasa, now they are going to explain the description about Dravya. So here we have a description regarding Kaila, Sarpi as well as Madhu. They have given take one example.
Namaste, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Sir, whether the concept of Vichitra Pratyarabdha and Vikriti Vishama Samaveta is same or different, sir?
Vichitra Pratyarabdha is applicable only for Dravya, but Vikriti Vishama Samaveta is not like that. It's very unique, which is explaining through Vichitra Pratyarabdha, you will be able to understand Dravya. You are not going to understand Vyadhi at all. So Vikriti Vishama Samavaya is the concept, universal concept, which is applicable for Dravya as well as Vikara. But Vichitra Pratyarabdha is only applicable for Dravya. This is where the orientation of Charaka Samhita is very unique and having high level of clinical application. Is it clear? Okay. So now they are explaining the Dravya Prabhava. I will not explain this in detail because this is easily understandable for you. Go through that, which is very important one. So we know Taila is very specific for Vata, Madhu is very specific for Kapha, Sarp is very specific for Pitta. Prashamana, the best. That's why the example has been given. Just earlier, Shamana and Jana. So the same thing is here. And then I have given an example of Dravya Karma. They have explained the concept very properly here. Whatever pharmacodynamics, pharmacokinetics we come across with nowadays, that is explained here very properly. Tatra Tailam Sneha, which guna of Taila is counteracting which guna of dosha. That is explained very beautifully here, which you are supposed to keep in your mind. But the point is, Satatam Abhyasyamanam is very important. You cannot neglect that one. So by practice, by habit, by repeated use, by repeated administration, once, twice, you cannot expect that effect. Satatam abhyasyamanam is very important. Avichedena upayujyamanam. So it's very clear. So when they are used throughout, avichedena is very specific, which you are supposed to keep in your mind. Okay. Other concepts are very clear here. You will be able to understand. Again, Satatam Abhyasyamanam has been mentioned for all the three. So that point you have to keep in your mind. So they explained three dravyas for Avajayana as Aushadha, and then they explained three dravyas which should not be used or which should not be practiced. Abhyasya dravyam, which has to be used properly, that are explained as Taila Tarthi as well as Madhu. Then Prabhava Udaharanartham Abhidhaya Anabhyasyan Aha. Abhyasya dravyas are Taila, Tarthi, Madhu. Anabhyasya dravyas are Pippali, Kshara and Lavana. So that is explained here very properly. Tini dravyani na ati upayunjita. The take-home message here is ati na ati upayunjita. They have not mentioned na upayunjita. Okay, so na ati upayunjita. So this point is very important in this particular context. Okay, so why these three should not be used? Again, the narration has been followed in the same way. So Taila is possessing such and such gunas, because of which it alleviates such and such gunas of Vata. Similar way of narration has been followed for Pippali, Kshara as well as Lavana. So what are the characteristics of Pippali and how these characteristics are going to affect certain qualities or certain components of Sharira. That is explained here. Few technical terms have been mentioned here, which you are supposed to know properly. Apata bhadraha prayoga sama sadgunya. So this point is very important here. So when prayoga of Pippali is sama as per the condition, sadgunya as per the proportion, then it is apata bhadraha. It's not harmful. It provides very good effect. So these technical terms you should know properly. Apata bhadraha prayoga Tamasadgunya. So this point you have to keep in your mind. That's very important one. And yoga vahinyah tu khalu bhavanti. So this point also should be there in your mind, which is very important. So regarding the kshara, it will be very clear. You will be able to understand very properly. But here, one interesting point has been mentioned in relation with the kshara prayoga as well as lavana prayoga. Because this is leading for understanding the next coming concept. That's why you should know this. See, the last part, prachyaha, chinaha cha, tasmat ksharam, न अति उपयुञ्जीत ये हि एनं ग्रामनगरनिगमजनपदाः सततम् उपयुञ्जते च आन्ध्रशान्ध्यकालित्य and so on. So there are few locations wherein kshara has been used in excess quantity, like prachya and china. So they are suffering from such and such diseases. So the erratic practice according to the region has been highlighted here. Same thing is for lavana. Yepi iha, tadyatha, bahlika saurastrika saindhava savvirakaha tehi payasa api lavanam prashnanti. There are few regions like Bahlika, Saurashtrika, Saindhava, Savviraka. So you will be able to identify these places if you go through the Indian, not Indian, I should not call it as Indian map, Akhanda Bharata. So if you go through that map, you will be able to identify these regions. Okay. So there, they yepi iha bhumehe ati ushara. So there are few places wherein the bhumi itself, the prithvi itself is afflicted or affected with kshara and lavana. There they are suffering from certain conditions, they are suffering from certain diseases which are mentioned in this particular context. This is one clinical important aspect what we are supposed to know. So with this, they say, tasma tesham tatya samyatah kramena apagamanam shreyaha. So if the person is having satya of kshara, pippali, lavana, then that should not be continued. So that satya should be kramena apagamana. It is not all of a sudden. We know this. Here comes the application of padamshika krama. Satmyam apihi kramena upanirvartamanam adosham alpadosham va bhavati. So when satmya is not good for health, then it should be withdrawn progressively or slowly. Then it will not cause any dosha vikriti, it will not cause any disease. Otherwise, it is harmful. We know this, which is explained in Navegandharaniya Adhyaya, Padamshika Krama, which has been explained there. So then we get the description regarding Satya, followed by the description of Ashtahara Vidivisheshayatana, which is the most important one, we will discuss tomorrow. Any doubts? Please to ask.
Sir, example for that Nanatmaka, sir. Nanatma Rupa. You told Nana Pramana.
Is not, Vata is not having ek guna. It's having multiple gunas. Pitta is also having multiple gunas. Similarly, Dravya is not alone having rasa. It is having multiple components, because of which we are getting multiplicity in actions.
That also can be considered under Parasparana Upahatanam also,
No.
sir.
Dominating one suppresses the recessive one. See, Vata is having Shita guna. When Pata and Pitta gets associated, then there will be association of Shita as well as Ushna. So which guna gets expressed? So that depends on the Nidanas. There might be expression of Shita guna. or there might be expression of Pitta Guna, which may lead to Daha, wherein the association of Vata Pitta. So if Shita Guna of Vata is dominating, then there might be presentation of Stambha like that. That's the dominating quality suppresses the receptive one. The example of Amalaki I have given in relation with the Dravya. Shita Virya of Amalaki suppresses Amla Rasa of Amalaki, because of which there is Pitta Shamana by the administration of Amala.
And in case of Nanatmaka, the gunas, there is like there are eight gunas, multiple gunas. That's
Yeah.
okay, sir. Sir, is there any significance of the order of that rasa, dravya, dosha, vikara, sir?
Dravya, we are trying to understand Dravya through what rasa. We are going to understand Vikara through what dosha. Rasa is the vaya media, rasa is the expressed form of the Dravya. Dosha is, dosha is the expressed form of Vikara. So that's
Yes,
why
sir.
the sequence has been followed.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other doubt?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, Shloka number 11, commentary. Last line, two term Prakashartham and Spashtartham. So, how to differentiate those two terms, sir?
Prakrishtartha, it is talking about the excellency of the meaning. Spashtartha is talking about clarity of the meaning.
Like in case of dosha and dravya, sir?
They are signifying the importance of rasa in relation with dravya.
Okay.
Even though there are other factors apart from rasa in dravya, it is rasa which is having prakrishtatva.
Okay, okay.
Similarly, in the manifestation of vikara, even though there are other factors for the manifestation of vikara, but dosha is having prakrishtatva.
Okay, okay. So here they're trying to say the relation between avayava and the samudaya.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Maybe end with the session, sir. As there is another session scheduled at 8:30. Thank you, participants. The next session will begin at 8:30. ಸರ್ ಬಿಟ್ರು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಕಣೆ ಅವರು ಹರ್ಷಿತಾ ಭಂಡಾರ ಒಬ್ಬ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ಸಿ ಏನಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನಂಗೆ ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಎಂಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಸೆಷನ್ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದೆ ಆಸ್ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನದರ್ ಸೆಷನ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ಡ್ at 8:30 ಅಂತ ಸರ್ ಏನೂ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅದೇನೋ ಇದಾಯ್ತು ನನಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ಸಿಲ್ವೋ ಏನಾಗಿಲ್ವೋ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಪ್ಪ ಸರ್ ಹಂಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ರು ಕೇಳು ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇನ್ನೇನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಮುಗೀತು ತಾನೇ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅವ್ರದ್ದು